Hello, this is the very first episode of Travel Devil. I'm your host, Clara Francken, and I'm so excited to start this podcast. Today is Halloween, and I'm going to be sharing some spooky stories about my travel. And I'm also going to, of course, explain a little bit more about this podcast, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about who I am. So let's get into it. Welcome to Travel Devil. I'm your host, Clara Francken, and in a world full of mass tourism, we're here to talk about unconventional travel. Let's get into it. So, in the theme of Halloween, I'm going to share a travel story about my Flixbus experience. Just to give you a quick side note on what Flixbus is a German brand that offers intercity bus services in Europe, North America, and South America. And I think it's really famous in Europe. A lot of people who are traveling around in Europe from city to city, from country to country, they're using the Flixbus because it's a very cheap alternative to buying train tickets or airplane tickets. And it's very convenient for last minute travel. So it has great benefits. I have a love-hate relationship with Flixbus. I think it's really great that, of course, you can travel so cheap. But a couple of years ago, I'm taking you back to my trip when I went to Amsterdam from Belgium. So I wanted to leave in the early mornings. I had booked a Flixbus together with my friend, and we are going to do a city trip in Amsterdam. We left in the morning, early morning. At 5 o'clock, we are already there at the bus stop. The bus stop is in my hometown Ghent at the Dampoort, for those who know. Um, and it's on a parking lot. It's at a station. Parking lot is quite empty. It's crazy cold outside. It's 5 in the morning. We're very tired, and the bus doesn't show up. Yeah. So we are waiting for this bus to come. And in the meanwhile, we have some entertainment. So there's a guy at the place of the bus stop. Mind you, we all, like everyone who needs to get on the Flixbus, doesn't really know where the bus is going to come. It's a big parking lot. We don't really know where the bus is and where he will come. We're just standing there. We see that there's multiple people who are also like have a small suitcase, so they're probably also going. We are trying to call Flixbus. Of course, nobody picks up. There's just like automatical replies and stuff, so we're not even able to talk to anyone. Um, Waiting for the Flixbus, and then all of a sudden, some entertainment comes. A crazy guy. So we're standing in a little group close to the place where we think the Flixbus will come, and then some crazy guy comes to us and he wants to ask for a cigarette. So first of all, he doesn't speak any of our languages. So I speak French, I speak Dutch, I speak English, I even speak German and Turkish. But the guy didn't speak any of those. I don't really know in which world he was flying, but he didn't speak any of the languages we knew, my friend knew, or anyone else. He kind of makes clear he wants to smoke a cigarette. So one of the people who were standing and waiting for the bus gives him a cigarette. And then he rolls up his sleeve and he takes a cigarette and he wants to smoke and he realizes he needs to, yeah, of course, fire the cigarette, or how do you call this in English? He needs to put fire on the cigarette, right? So he's asking for the same dude, like, oh, do you have a lighter? He has a cigarette in his hand and he's moving too much for this person to light his cigarette in his place. Basically, he gave the lighter to the crazy dude. The crazy dude lightens his cigarette, and by doing so, he puts on fire his whole sleeve. And he starts looking at his sleeve, which is like burning crazy. And he starts laughing, like, ha 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 ha, wah, ha, ha, ha. And he puts on his arm in the air, like, so happy that his arm is burning. And We're all like, what the fuck? Okay, let's like take off your jacket, take off your jacket. We're screaming towards the guy. The guy doesn't take off his jacket. My friend goes up to this guy, tries to take off the jacket for him because he's practically burning his hand, tries to take it off, finally is able to put the jacket on the ground. The crazy guy starts jumping on the jacket, jumping, until finally the fire turns off. He had a little suitcase with him. He opens his suitcase and takes out a teddy bear. Okay? He runs away with his teddy bear. He comes back. He lightens his teddy bear. He puts it on fire, throws it toward us, and runs away again. In the meanwhile, I hear ambulance in the background, so I think maybe somebody saw fire from the buildings close to the station and called an ambulance. I don't know. The man was loose. He was gone. The bus arrived, and we were really checking that the guy wouldn't come back because we don't want him on our bus, of course. So, yeah, we were also, the bus was almost, I think, 3 hours too late. I don't know. The policy back then, I think, was that the bus can come 3 hours too late, and if he's less than 3 hours too late, then you don't get a refund. And if it's more than 3 hours too late, you get a refund. Today it changed a little bit. Today, as soon as you have 2 hours delay, you get a refund. But anyway, we were way too late, and we were super tired, half dreaming, half fucking scared of this crazy guy. Really happy that the bus arrived finally, and we took the bus to Amsterdam. And Amsterdam was nice. Of course, we had a couple of hours less to see the city. But that was my Flixbus experience. And after that, I really took a break from Flixbus because I didn't know, like, is this something for me? I will never forget. And so I thought it would be maybe nice to read a little bit of stories on Reddit from other people who also traveled with Flixbus and maybe have their own experience. So I'm going to read a couple of them. And then, yeah, maybe we can learn more about Flixbus because, of course, there's also really good experiences with Flixbus. I prefer taking it for short distances, and I also really like using Flix train. But that's another story. Let's go read some Reddits. Okay, my horrible experience with Flixbus. Yesterday, me and my boyfriend were waiting for the Flixbus to get us from the city to another town to the airport so that we could get our flight. The time when the bus was supposed to arrive to that town was not close to the departure time of our flight, so we had a decent amount of time to spare. 20 minutes before the bus was supposed to arrive, I get a text that it will be 90 minutes late. Pause. At least she got a text. We didn't get a notification. This story I'm reading right now is from 5 months ago. Okay. It was okay, and we decided to wait for it because we would still make it to the airport. So we stand on the station for an hour and a half waiting for it and looking at the time of arrival on the Flixbus website. Sure enough, after those 90 minutes have passed, the timer said that the bus would be late another hour and a half, which results in us not making it on time for our flight. That's crazy. Like, imagine your bus is coming also like 3 hours late. Such mine did too. So beware. The only option was to take a taxi that costs more than our Flixbus and plane tickets combined. Of course, of course. I went on the Flixbus website and talked to their customer service. They said that probably the only thing that they can do is to refund the bus ticket, but not to pay the taxi ride. They could only give me compensation for other terms of transport if we went by another bus or train. Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of spooky. I mean, it's kind of logical that they don't refund the taxi. It should be, like, it would be great, but I guess it's written somewhere in the policies of Flixbus. I mean, it's kind of logical. You pay, it's like really cheap to travel by Flixbus. So imagine it's so cheap and then they would pay you a taxi if they're like if they have a delay. It would be great, but I don't think they have to guarantee you, because it's your own risk to take the Flixbus, I guess, before taking a plane. I would never do this. Like, this is really not a great idea. Like, don't take the Flixbus to get to the airports. I really, yeah. I mean, take it, but if you take it, you have to plan at least 3 hours and a half buffer time because the bus can come 3 hours late. I mean, that's happened to me too. That's crazy. Okay. After being persistent and telling them the option was not fitting for me, they told me to file a written complaint and they will see what they can do. I don't know how long I will have to wait to get a reply and if I even will get one. Yeah. I don't know. There's no update on this thing. I'm not sure if she really got the money back. I don't think she would have. Um, but at least she really was persistent and she got maybe the money back from the Flixbus, and probably she will not take the Flixbus again after this experience to go to the airport. Okay, another story. 4 months ago, Flixbus driver kicked two girls off the bus on the side of the highway. What? Okay. I'm going from Bern to Lyon. The bus was 1.5 hours late. Yeah, the bus is late. How can that be? It's supposed to stop in Geneva, but since only two passengers were getting off there, the driver decided he isn't going to waste the time to going into the city, so he stopped the bus at the gas station 30 minutes from the city and yelled at the girls until they got off, telling them they just have to take a taxi. What the fuck? Imagine your bus driver's like, I'm late, so now you don't arrive at your destination. Oh gosh, okay. Is there any way to report a driver for inappropriate behavior? This is crazy. Those girls had a connection in Geneva and they're going to miss it because of this. So they should file a complaint, I think, and hope for the best because I don't know, take them to court. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, there's an edit as well. He just kicked the rest of us, 30 people, off on the side of the highway outside of Lyon at midnight, 2.5 hours after the scheduled time, arrival time in Lyon. Many of the passengers missed their connecting bus to Barcelona and are stranded in Lyon overnight. And they will have to buy a new ticket for tomorrow's bus. Imagine. Just imagine this. Catastrophic. I mean, if you're used to traveling a lot, then maybe you can handle this. But imagine this is your first time like traveling in Europe and you're taking the bus from one country to another. You want to get to Barcelona from France. And they just stop you in the middle of the night. They're like, go figure it out and drive away. You missed your connection. You have to spend money to stay a night in a place where you don't speak the language, maybe. You have to find a place to sleep. Wow. Oh, this really is terrible. Okay. Okay, last story. Traveling through Europe with Flixbus, but the bus didn't show up. Didn't show up. Not too late, just didn't come. Has this ever happened to you? Well, not to me. Okay, let's get into the story. I was so mad. I'm traveling from France to Spain through Flixbus. It's supposed to be a 16-hour ride. I mean, 16 hours. Who wants to do that? But okay, okay. I got to the bus station an hour early, about 10 minutes before the time the bus was supposed to show up. I received a notification that it was going to be an hour late. No problem. I sit and wait, except that I start checking the bus tracking thing they have on their app. And I notice the bus simply skipped the stop. They skipped. They were like, don't need to pick you up. As I noticed it was slowly getting further away from my stop. Thankfully, there were also other people waiting for another bus that was set to show up 15 minutes later. And I asked about the situation to the driver. He just said, get on the bus and we'll see at the interconnection hub, as this bus was set to stop at the same place my original bus was going to. Look at that! That's so good! A nice bus driver. This one, I like this one. He's friendly. The second bus, yeah, he's good. Okay, now I'm in the situation where I'm on a bus and I don't even have a ticket for this bus. And I'm going to a connection hub, which is 4 hours away from my actual destination, with only a "we will see" comment from the company. Has this ever happened to you? This seems outrageous to me, and I hope for the best. Update. All is good, managed to get to the hub before the original bus got there. How did she do that? And I got in with my real ticket. I made it to my final destination. Oh my god, that's really good. I'm happy for her or for them. That's really good. I mean, those things can happen. Like Flixbus, I don't know, man. Always some crazy stories to tell when you're talking about people traveling with Flixbus. At least you have something to talk about afterwards, right? Like you have some stories to share. That's good. Okay, so maybe let's talk a little bit about if Flixbus is even a good idea to use. In my personal opinion, I think it's really nice to use Flixbus for short distances and if you don't have like some connection to catch, because there's quite often a delay with the Flixbus, and apparently it can even just get cancelled. Like she was lucky there was a second bus, but I mean, what if there's no second bus? So I think Flixbus, yes, it is good for short distances. Um, if you want to book last minute tickets, for example, last year to get to Oktoberfest, which is in Germany, my friends from Belgium came by Flixbus because the train tickets were just like super expensive. So they came overnight and they just slept on the bus. I think it was like a 12-hour ride. I mean, they were a little bit tired of the ride, but they were together. So already you don't have to sleep next to some random person, which is good. And then on the other hand, yeah, you have your night, so you don't have to pay for a hotel. So that's good as well. And it's cheaper than the train tickets, at least when you're booking last minute. So that's good as well. So I think it depends on your situation. But I mean, imagine this bus was just cancelled. Then they would have been stuck and the train ticket would have been mad expensive. Um, so I don't know if it's always the best solution, but it definitely is a good solution if you want to book like last minute trips. If you really want to go cheap and you don't have another option, yeah, you can do that. But just letting you know, you can also in Europe take the train as well, and it's not necessarily more expensive depending on the country where you're in. I live in Germany, for example. Last minute tickets are super expensive, but if you buy your ticket ahead of time, actually it's quite okay. Like the prices are not so crazy. The most expensive ticket that was like 150 euros, and the cheapest ticket was 25. So, I mean, the prices vary from when you're buying them, which time of the year it is, and how many time, like how much in advance you buy your ticket. Another thing which I think is good about taking the bus is, of course, that you're not flying. You're traveling more consciously. You really see the nature and your surrounding change, which is really important and great. So another thing I like about the Flixbus is that you're traveling slowly, which is really good for the environment because you don't take the plane, and also it's more sustainable in terms of CO2 emissions. I think it feels better like for your body to be traveling slower because you really realize what you're seeing around you and you're traveling more consciously. Yeah, that's just really important to me, at least. Um, but at the same time, it's not like you're able to stop somewhere in a little town if you just want to see something you like because you're in the bus stuck together with many other people and sometimes also not the best behaved people, but also people listening to music. So, I mean, there are a lot of advantages. Okay, so there's like a help desk on the Flixbus website if you're really interested to know about what you should do in case of Flixbus delay, you missed your bus, you used alternative transportation, your bus was cancelled, you have damaged luggage and other stuff. You basically always have to contact them. You have to fill in a form, and you can find all of these forms through the help desk of Flixbus, which is good. I mean, they're ready for some questions. The refund policy I was talking about previously, On their website, there's not really transparent on saying like how many percentage you get back or if you get it all back or whatever it is. They just tell you to fill in a refund request. If your bus has a delay for more than 2 hours, you can get a refund. What I find annoying is that you cannot really call Flixbus. Like, I would love in such a moment that you're like distressed, you want to call somebody. And what you can do is like, there's a chat, which is good. I mean, at the time that I had the problems, there was no chats yet. So it's improved. But still, it's really annoying. Enough talking about Flixbus. Let's talk about Travel Devil. Why did I start this podcast? In this podcast, I really want to talk about alternative ways of traveling, more unconventional travel. I'm not going to focus on mass tourism, on airplane flights. Like, it's gonna be like more sustainable, but not always necessarily focusing on the sustainability aspect, but also on the unconventional aspect of it, on the alternative aspect of it, on the enjoying different ways to travel instead of just following the typical city trips that everyone wants to do when they want to go, oh, I want to go a weekend to Malta and I don't know, party on Mallorca or whatever, instead of maybe seeing another place closer to home or maybe also far away, but like making the road part of the travel, like enjoying the full experience instead of just going there to lay on a beach. But in this podcast, I'm not going to be focusing on that. I'm going to give you so many alternatives to travel differently. And I talked to so many guests for this podcast as well. And I also have a YouTube channel on which I already talked with multiple guests. And there are so many people who travel in beautiful ways. They travel by bicycle, they have travel experience by traveling on a cargo ship, traveling close to home in general, like just visiting your surroundings. And I cannot tell you how inspiring it has been to talk to so many travelers. And it inspires me to travel differently as well. And I really hope that this podcast can help you to travel this differently as well, because it definitely has had a big, big impact on me. So I hope to share the light and the love to travel in this podcast, because yeah, it's just beautiful. And there's so many more ways to travel. So why did I choose the name Travel Devil? Why did I choose this name? I have a couple of links with the devil. No, I'm kidding. But, well, I'm from Belgium and we all know the Red Devils. And then I live in Germany, and maybe you know Mephisto, the devil from the German folklore? Yeah, and it rhymes. Actually, I just chose it because it rhymes. That's basically it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you think these stories are worth listening to, then please share them with a friend. Send this podcast to whoever you think will also enjoy this episode. And if you have questions to me or if you want to continue the conversation, you can contact me on my Instagram at Clara Francken. I will put links in the show notes. And yeah, I hope to see you there. And we will see each other next week. Take care. This was Travel Devil, brought to you by me, your host, Clara Francken. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to continue the conversation or suggest any future guests, you can go to my Instagram at Clara Francken. Take care, and I will see you next Thursday.